Hi everyone, it's Angela and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this amazing vegan strawberry lemonade loaf cake. So let's dive in and take a look at the ingredients we'll be using today. So as this is vegan, we'll be using 100 grams of plant-based butter with 135 grams of sugar, 200 grams all-purpose flour, 6.5 grams of baking powder and 2 grams of salt. I'm using plant-based almond milk and 170 grams of that. Next we're adding in 100 grams of applesauce, 100 grams of homemade strawberry jam, the zest of a lemon and some vanilla bean paste. We'll be using about 1.5 teaspoons of that, which is 7 grams. So let's pop everything aside and then we can start to make the batter for our loaf cake. I'm going to start by mixing in my sugar and my butter. I'm just using a hand whisk for this. This recipe actually comes together really quickly, so you can use a stand mix for it if you want to, but I've just chosen to use a hand mix because again it doesn't take very long and I don't really need to use that bigger bowl for it. So you just want to give this a good whisk for a couple of minutes until it's nice and combined. It looks light and fluffy as well. And you'll notice that the plant-based butter I'm using just looks a little bit paler once you start to beat it. To that I'm now adding my container of applesauce, which is our egg replacement for this loaf cake. And then my 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla bean paste. If you don't have vanilla bean paste, you could use just vanilla extract instead, or whatever flavour you prefer to complement this cake. And then you want to give that a bit of a whisk together. Now I don't like to over mix my batter because I find that actually gives me a tougher cake. I want to keep everything nice and light here. Next I'm going to add in the rind of 1 lemon and my plant-based almond milk. You can use any plant-based milk for this as well. Give it a whisk. It is going to look quite strange, quite curdled, but don't worry, as soon as we add our dry ingredients to it, everything's going to come together really nicely. And here's our flour mix. So that's our flour, baking powder and salt. And unfortunately my camera stopped recording at the point when I added it, but I just gave them a mix in with my mixer. And then I've gone ahead and I've just warmed up my jam in the microwave for about 20 seconds. You want to make sure it's got a nice runny consistency to it because we're actually going to spread this into the batter once it's in the pan. Next I'm going to quickly show you how to line my cake pan. This is a 9-inch loaf tin. I'm just going to use some parchment paper and I'm roughly going to cut it against the box of the parchment paper. Now don't worry if you don't cut it perfectly. Mine didn't actually turn out that straight here as it wasn't cut straight previously, but it really doesn't matter. It's essentially there to help you lift the cake out once it's baked. So in order to make sure that that cake doesn't stick, I'm now going to add some plant-based butter to all of the sides, just using some paper towels, and make sure you get into those corners as well. You don't want to miss anything because that increases your likelihood of sticking if you don't actually grease it well at all. And that looks perfect. So now we can go ahead, pop that butter to one side and just pop the parchment paper back in as well. When you're doing this as well, you'll notice that I have actually cut a longer piece than the tin, so that overhang is going to help us remove the cake once it's baked. Give it a press down into the corners, like so. And now we're ready to add our cake batter. So when you do add your batter, I like to use a spatula just to make sure I'm not leaving any bits of it in our mixing bowl. You want to make sure you get everything in that pan. So spread it out nicely and make sure you scoop everything out. And then we're actually going to level it off again once it's in the pan. Give it one last scrape. And you'll notice this isn't an overly runny cake batter. It's still got some nice firm consistency to it and it's really easy to spread as well. So just use your spatula, spread it into all the corners, make sure it's on the sides as well. And next we're ready to add our jam. This is the fun bit. I really like doing this because it just gives that extra pop of flavour throughout your cake. So I'm just going to pour all of it on top. And there is quite a lot of it here. You could obviously swap this out for any flavour of jam as well, but do always make sure that you warm it through in the microwave, just so that it makes it a lot easier to do this stage. So now you can see I'm using my knife and I'm just swirling it around in the batter. You can do this as much or as little as you like. And what it will actually do is give quite a nice caramelized topping to the cake as well. Doesn't that look really good? And it smells so good too. And you can already smell some of that lemon coming through from the zest that we added to the batter. I think that's perfect. Okay, so just give it a couple of taps on the counter. That helps with any air bubbles that are in the mix. And then you can pop it in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 55 to 60 minutes. And this is what it looks like when it's done. You can see it's gone nice and golden brown, quite caramelized on the edges as well, where that jam has just cooked really nicely in the oven for us. Now I'm going to let it cool for a while before I remove it. You do want to make sure it's cooled well before you do that, because you don't want to burn yourself. And then all you do is lightly pull up the sides of that parchment paper and remove it from the pan. You can see how easy that was. I didn't have to do anything else with it, so that's perfect. This is a nice sized cake. Again, this was baked in a 9-inch loaf pan. Now that it's nice and cool, we can go ahead and cut it. And you can see ever so slightly those streaks from the jam. It's very subtle in there just because of all the colouring from the dough as well. You can get that tiny hint of it and it looks and smells amazing. And there's a closer look at the inside for you as well. So I'm just going to cut this up into some smaller pieces to eat and see what it tastes like. Hope you found this bake along really useful. Don't forget to let me know in the comments if you've tried this style of swirling with jam in your cake batter before. Make sure you subscribe to my channel as well and check out all the other bake along recipes that I have. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.